congrats on getting Webby over the line to 2028, mate. How long's that conversation been going on?
Look, we talked about it occasionally during the back end of the season. We just wanted to get to the end of the footy season, and then him and I had a catch-up about 10 days ago, and we just sorted it out pretty quickly and had a beer and got on with it.
What's the importance of the length of contract, Cameron, with what's going on at the club?
I think the real important part for us, Kempy, is we start next year with our under-17 team, the Harold Matts team, and we're talking to a lot of families, talking to a lot of kids about the retention of them playing in New Zealand and following our pathways, and to have a head coach that's locked in for that longer term aspect really allows us to give them a really good vision to the future and what it looks like. It also allows those kids coming to our system this off-season to understand Webby's way and really drive that from the day one. And then as they progress upwards into, SG Ball, Jersey Flag, New South Wales Cup, NRL, hopefully from their perspective, they've enjoyed the journey underneath Webby and they've had the same head coach right through. So we sort of want to lock it away for as long as we could for that reason.
You've made a few changes already. Morgs has headed up to the Cowboys. You bring young Slade up. What does a coaching pathway look like for coaches in New Zealand, Cameron?
Yeah, so there is a really good pathway now, an opportunity with us, obviously other bodies as well, but from Harold Matt's team to Jersey Flag, SG Ball, Jersey Flag, New South Wales Cup, we're really keen to bring local talent in around the coaching arena. We went out exploring a few months ago. We've got some managers coming in for the first time, physios, trainers, right through to coaching, and there's that opportunity. We're investing heavily in that, and that's our goal. We just purchased a building over beside Mount Smart Stadium to redevelop it into our own Pathways gym, and so on. So we've just done a deal with One Tree Hill College about developing their fields into training facilities as well for our Pathways. So it is a real critical part of us now, and we're so excited about it. We're equal footing every other club in the NRL. It's about time, and we're putting everything we can into it.
Mate, Cameron, well done on that announcement. Obviously, 2025 extended to 2028. Huge announcement and great signs for the future of the Warriors. But what is the most important aspect continue on this momentum from this year heading into next year, knowing with what you've been able to do this year? Yeah,
look, we've got some... We've got some ideas. We need to have a philosophy of retaining where we've got to and where we're at now and lock and reload going into the future. So we've got some exercises we'll do as a club over the next month or two, and we need everyone to understand we don't take this for granted. We've got to work harder. We've got to be better right across the board, and I talk in the office right through to the captain of our NRL team. So we've got a huge opportunity. We've worked hard to get there through some rough, tough times, but we're going to grab it with both hands and bring our fans along and grow our membership base and grow our opportunity to be successful.
You've got Webby locked in, Cameron. What about the roster? You've got a bit of an ageing roster. Tohu, Sean, possibly another year. Rogers in his 31st year. What is the market throwing up for you? Can we expect another signing?
Look, Braden Williami, Kempy, was sort of a bit left field with his retirement, unfortunately for him. And so that presents a spot. Look, Webby and Kempy are just floating around, seeing what pops up. As you well know, they sort of can come from left field. We're doing some looking around to see what that looks like. We're in no hurry. I think you saw on the weekend with the New Zealand A's, we've got some really good young talent coming through. And really pleased to see them represent their country and get that experience. So we're marrying up sort of what you're talking about with actually backing some of our kids moving forward, because if we're going to go down this pathways and development to the level we are, we've got to, at some stage, back them. And hopefully in 12 months' time, they're coming through thick and fast. So we'll see what happens.
When you talk about that, Cam, do you talk about taking New Zealand into a competition-based scenario with these Jersey flag kids? Because at the moment it's just tournaments. They get together for a week and then don't play any more competitions throughout the year. Are the Warriors looking at setting up a national comp?
Mate, we'd love to. I'd love to talk about that and look at all of those opportunities of revamping the whole strategy here. Like the NRL are really keen to help where they can to do that. I would prefer to play in New Zealand than the New South Wales competitions, but we're just not there yet, obviously. So we've got to get that change and get that quality up over time to match it. So we can take a player from a local competition, domestic, and play NRL or vice versa, drop a player back. But we've just got to get that quality to that level first and foremost. But all ears are open and eyes are open for ideas there, Kempy.
Yeah, and it's refreshing to hear Cameron, you talk about those pathways in New Zealand because you know how passionate I am about that. And let's just have a little bit of a chat about what I think is a hot topic at the moment. That's Stacey Jones as national coach. Do you think having a national coach, especially down in your head office, you've signed Webby to a long-term contract, should Stacey Jones be the national coach and progress through that line as well?
Yes. Look, this ain't a personal thing. This is just a professional take from where I sit. Look, Michael Maguire, if he does have the New South Wales job, I think that's a focus he cannot afford to jeopardise for that organisation. Look, he's got one of the best representative jobs in the world, and obviously the New South Wales job is, as you read, is of interest to him. I don't see how a coach of that level at Queensland or New South Wales can develop Australian players to that level and then come and coach a national team offshore against those players. So I think for sure and certain, if that happens, Stacey Jones, for mine, is and should be a shoo-in. He's bled in that jumper, mate. He's created parts of that jumper. Players will play for him. They will stand up and be so proud to represent their country underneath Stacey Jones's leadership. And I know he'll put great people around him and he'll inspire the country to play for the Kiwis. And that's the mana he's got. And I hope he gets that opportunity if Michael Maguire moves on.
Cam, we're seeing a bit of news coming from across the Tasman that Josh Curran's talking to the Dogs and you might let him go a year early from the contract. Is that just about freeing up cap space for you guys, given we do have, I guess, a few second rows coming through?
It's not the cap space. Look, what the discussion was about was, as we just touched on it with Kempy, was beyond next year, Webby and Cappy and the club are really keen to back some of their key kids coming through, and that's the responsibility we've got with the pathway system. And so Josh was just advised that, look, it's unlikely beyond next year that we'd be re-signing. So on that basis, if you do find an option that's long-term and better, please come and talk to us. But you are here this year, and we're happy to have you here this year, and there's no problem with that whatsoever. And things could change as well beyond that. But we're just being very transparent with a player that's from Australia and may wish to look to be closer to home. I don't know who he's talking to. We've had no official approaches about him. However, we've told that to Josh, and we're just being completely open and honest with him, and he's appreciated that. And look, it's just the way sometimes it works out timing-wise with kids coming through in your position. So he most likely will be here next year. If not, we're very comfortable where we're at.
Hey, Cameron, just on the top two sides in the NRL, you had the Broncos, you had the Penrith Panthers, going out and playing a hell of a final. How do we close the gap in terms of being able to compete with those two teams? Because I'll be honest, I looked at those two teams, I said, mate, they're in their own space at the moment. They're on an absolute heater. Is that at the front of your mind?
Yeah, it's funny. I was only saying this to a mate the other day. We're talking about the exact same topic. I just think you need to be fit, you need to be fast, you need to be, on your game. That's where they've got to. But you have a look at both clubs. They have a tremendous and long-term development and pathway system, and they're bringing their own through, and they've got their own identity right, they've got their belief right. And naturally they're making the right calls with their players. So well done to them. But we'll get there, mate. We're not far off. Everyone has a bad day, and but they are strong clubs, and we want to be like them, a powerhouse. And we have the opportunity to do that with our backyard. So we've just got to get there, mate, through our own talent. But you need a lot of luck. You need to be fit.
Yeah, you need to be fit, and you definitely needed that development model, which is good to see you're talking about that, Cam. The New Zealand A, they did produce quite a number of good players in that game against the Tongan A side on Saturday. The Josh Curran situation, with this 17s and 18s competition coming through, can we see a lot more kids? Is that the vision coming through and representing from New Zealand, as opposed to just keep going into that Australian market? Is that your vision?
Yeah, absolutely. Kempy, we had trials last week at Cornwall Park a couple of weeks ago, the 17s and the 19s. And we had over 1,200 registrations for the two teams. And, so they obviously scaled that down. We had kids playing everywhere. It was unreal. And Cappy had a really good format. Played either side for 15 minutes early in the day, and then they formed into a 13-team game later in the day, and it was really good. And that's our goal. That's what we want. That's how you win competitions with your salary cap. And sadly, we just haven't been able to start it for a fair while, but we're not looking back now. And we want our kids representing the Kiwis ultimately, or Samoa or Tonga. Whatever nationality, we want them to represent their nation, their culture, and use us as a platform to get there. And stay home and let's do this together.
Mate, when do you get back into, I guess, pre-season, and are you worried about the few of the Kiwi boys, and of course the Tongans and the Samoan boys that are from the Warriors playing these tournaments at the back end of the year? Because there's talk about the season just being too long.
Yeah, look, to be honest, this year we're not too bad, Kempy, in terms of numbers. Quality-wise, we've got some good players there, but Chance and Adam and Tonga, they'll be back around Christmas, if not after. But most of the other guys are, having a break now, and they're ready to go. So they start to drip feed back in from about the 8th of November onwards. Had Roger and Chanel and Jazz in the other day doing a session together, and it was great to see those guys having a laugh and a good time being back together. And some of the guys are just ticking over, doing some gym sessions and the likes, but they'll be back sooner rather than later. But you're right, we just got to keep an eye on that whole program, because all of a sudden the season doesn't finish; it just continues, and you start earlier next year. Now our trials will be in Feb, and they're talking about trips to Las Vegas, and all of a sudden that's an extra 2 weeks travel, and so it's changing, and it's something we've got to keep an eye on.
Just on there, how's Roger looking, and how do you manage him through the pre-season? And mate, where does he fit in this puzzle?
Yeah, look, Webby's got a really good plan for him. Roger's good. He looks so happy, and he looks great. It's great to see him back having a laugh and a good time, and he's off on a couple of weeks holiday now. He'll be back mid-November, and he's going to have a pretty busy off-season, especially around our defensive structures and so on that Webby's introduced since he started here. So all that'll be new to Roger, and we all know what he's like. He's a total professional. But I think Webby's going to be good for Roger, and Roger will be great for Webby and the team and the squad, and he'll find a spot, mate, and he'll add value for sure.
Well, we know you're an avid race scar too, Cam, being the chair of New Zealand Thoroughbred. We've got the Cox Plate this weekend, the Melbourne Cup, first Tuesday of the month, mate. Who are the two horses that you're following through those two races?
I think Romantic Warrior, the Cox Plate. I think the Hong Kong horse will be foot on till this week. You know what, mate? I don't know about the Melbourne Cup. I don't really care about the Melbourne Cup, to be honest. But I tell you, I'd love to see our mate Alan Sharrock get there with ladies, man. And have a bit of a go. Like it'd be awesome for New Zealand racing. Great for him, and be bad for you, Cappy, because you'll have a hangover for a while. But it'd just be awesome to go and for him to take on the internationals and be great for New Zealand. So
Okay.
good.
Cam, interesting you said that about the Melbourne Cup. Where are you at on the Everest then? Because we did have a few debates about whether the Everest was going to unseat the Melbourne Cup as the number one race down this part of the world.
I think generationally it will, and it does. The Melbourne Cup will always be the Melbourne Cup, but I feel like the whole new generation has shifted to the races like the Everest, which are different. They're a different model, full stop. It's a bit like the twilight meetings that we have in New Zealand and Australia. They are attracting and drawing the crowds that you don't get on a Saturday that goes for 8 hours, like Test cricket opposed to one day or 2020. So it's a never-changing landscape. You've got to keep your eye on. But the Everest for me is probably captured the nation now, and probably internationally it has as well.
Would you see a slot race in the gallops like they do in the trots here in New Zealand, Cam?
Mate, it's an interesting one. The thing for me is if you were to start something like that, sustainability around it. Like, if you were to own a slot, I don't want you just owning a slot for 2 years, 3 years, and then saying, I'll hand it over to someone else, and all of a sudden you can't find people. It's a different market here for that sort of thing. I'd like, I've challenged Brucey Sharrock and the guys to come up with a different initiative, find some other innovation around races and how we can do it. Slot races are good, mate, but, the Everest is what it is, and I think everyone is chasing it and dreaming about it, but I don't think you can get there unless you're at that level.
Good stuff, Cam, mate. Really appreciate you coming on. Go well. Enjoy the rest of your day, eh?
Will do.
Cheers,
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cameron George, Chief Executive of the Warriors. Always a good chat. Always pretty transparent, eh? Kind of just tells you what's going on. There's no hiding behind anything.
Yeah, he's ridden that roller coaster, at the low of lows and the highs are just about the top of Everest, taking them one game away from the final this year. So. The question around recruitment and pathways, Cameron talk makes a lot of sense. Penrith, the way you catch Penrith in Brisbane is you've got to have a junior development model that develops your own, and that's what both of those clubs have got. And the Jerome Luais, the Crichtons, the Clearys, and those kids have been playing together since I was 16 through the Jersey Flegg competition into first grade. Now, 4 grand finals later, and I can see them, like you asked, is it still Penrith that we catch? Of course it is. It's still Penrith next year. Brisbane, I think, will be better for, you've got to lose one to win one. But I like what I'm hearing coming out of Warriors headquarters and signing Webby on a long-term contract. That is stability. That's what we need.
SENZ. It's